Sports presents.
You're listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
Welcome in again to another edition of The Sizzle here on Iron Skillet Radio, Iron Skillet Television. You know who's in the building. Jay Sizzle, what's good, bro?
Man, I'm good, man. I'm feeling great, man. I'm wonderful.
You're wonderful. Okay.
I'm feeling different.
We'll just say you're wonderful, and we'll just keep it going at that.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah,
You're
we'll
wonderful. Okay, we're here. We're getting ready to give it to you the way it should be given every time. You know what it's time to do, Jay?
What's the time, bro?
I think it's time for us to take it to the court.
We going to the courts?
We're going to the courts. I think it's time for us to take it to the hardwood.
You're listening to The Sizzle on Iron Skillet Radio and Iron Skillet Television.
Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan. That's 13 consecutive field goals.
Oh, LeBron James with no regard for human life.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! With 0.6 of a second remaining.
Baby. Oh, baby. You know when you hear the beat, you know what it's time for. It's time for the Sisters Hardwood. Oh, baby, we got a lot to talk about. We got to talk about it and get it in because there was a hero out on the court tonight, a superhero. He was a super player. His name is Tyler Hero. And if you don't know, you're going to know right after we tell you about what happened tonight with the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat. Oh, baby. Jay, did you see this game? Did you see what was going on in this game?
Hey, like Richard Pryor said a long time ago, a hero ain't nothing but a sandwich unless it's spelled with 2 R's. Let me tell you, Tyler Hero is an assassin, an absolute assassin. 37 points, 17 of them in the fourth quarter. This guy was just letting it fly. First time I ever saw Tyler Hero was on the Oprah Side Network. He did a thing with the Big Baller. It wasn't Big Baller brand, but it was Baller Vision, and they had music. The first time I saw him, and I was like, wow. And now I'm like extra wow. Tyler Hero is something else.
Well, let's take it to the heart. Let's tell the people what happened. The Celtics versus the Heat. Let's tell you about this hero because Tyler Hero now leads the Miami Heat in a 3-1 series lead over the Boston Celtics in Game 4. You know what, man? The Heat are just one win away from the NBA Finals. It was a decisive game, as you said. Tyler Hero, 37 points off the bench.
Yeah.
Oh, baby. He propelled the Heat to a 112-109 victory, and now the 3-1 series lead. And, baby, he was 14 for 21 shooting from the field. So, look, man, he was 5 for 10 from deep. He was doing everything that needed to be done coming off the bench. So let me ask you real quick, Jay, what are the Celtics doing that's losing them this series?
Oh, because their stars are going to sleep. You got Jason Tatum that went over in the first half. How you going over and you are the star of this team, right? Then you got Marcus Smart not playing smart basketball. I don't know why at times, but he lets his emotions get the best of him. And I think you just see a team who thought because the Milwaukee Bucks went out that they were entitled and they were just going to walk through. And the Jimmy Butlers, Squire Butler, has got these. Did you see Bam Adebayo was playing the last part of this game, but his arm was literally torn out of the socket, and he wouldn't come off because he knew Squire Butler was going to lap his head off if he did. It was absolutely amazing.
You know, it's something when you talk about you've got a Jason Tatum. I mean, just talking about Jason Tatum, right? He didn't score a single point in the first half. Not a single point. In fact, he was so confused by the Heat's 2-3 zone. It was so disruptive to him that he was held scoreless until the second half.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Can this continue? I mean, can they even get back into the series from what we saw tonight? Is there any way for them back in?
You remember I told you, I told you this Miami Heat was going to have them down 3-0.
You did.
I did say that. Now they're down, what, is it 3-1? Is that what we are right now? It's 3-1 right now. It's over. This is over. They don't want to play no more. Jason Tatum is I believe he was an all-star. He's just not a superstar. And your superstars don't go over like this when you need him down the stretch. He tried to come back, but he couldn't. And then they let a young fella like Tyler Hero. Nobody can guard Tyler Hero. He's that guy now. He was second team all rookie. How's he second team all rookie and he's playing like this? You know what I'm saying? And nobody can shut him down. Nobody put a body on him. Nobody knocked him on the floor after he rained 17 points on you in the fourth quarter. Nobody tried to stop this kid. I'm absolutely amazed. Absolutely amazed. Nobody knocked him down.
You know, it's funny. We talk about it. Now, Jason Tatum, to his credit, he did have 28 points. He was 10 for 12 shooting as he ended the night, but you needed a little bit more, especially from a Bam Adebayo for the Heat. He scored a double-double.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just I don't know what to say. I wasn't expecting this. I thought when you brought in all the pieces that Boston had brought in, when you go and get pieces, I thought they would be able to handle themselves a little bit better than this. And it looks like a wash already. So I don't know what to say right now. Kemba Walker seems to go missing. You've got nobody else really supporting. I mean, none of the supporting cast, Jaylen Brown, everybody, they're all just in hiding and missing. And I don't know what their head coach can do right now. I don't know how he can outmaneuver Eric Spoelstra, but right now they're in a bad way. And yeah, bro, you're looking at a 3-1 hole. And the decided Game 5, the dangerous, the hated Game 5. If the Heat pull Game 5 out, it's over, right? And that's it. Huh?
Yeah. Look, and I'm gonna tell you what, it's over right now because these guys do not know what to do with an active NBA pro style 2-3 zone. They play this zone better than anybody in the world. That's what this 2-3 zone. You think they'll be able to probe the middle, get to the middle like you're supposed to, kick the ball back out to the open shooters. You saw Walker doing that early. He got off earlier in the game, but 2 games before, he didn't get off. What the problem is now you have the Celtics. One guy's getting off one half, the other guy's not getting off the other half. You look at you look at the Heat. Jimmy Butler was relatively quiet all the way through this ballgame because he doesn't need to shoulder this. They kept feeding Hero. Bam had, 20 points. I want to say Dragic had 22 or 24 or something like that. And so they were getting even scoring all the way across. Jimmy was making sure the ball went to where it needed to go. But when you saw a Celtics team who was just struggling, there was no consistency in the game. They made big runs when they needed to. But at the end, their closers couldn't close. And that's what the biggest problem is right now. And I'm going to tell you, if this Miami Heat team gets out in front, another double-digit lead, up by 12, 14, 15, this could be a blowout.
Yeah, it could be. And the sad part is the Heat aren't even shooting that well. But the difference in this game is that they've been able to go to the line. I mean, they were on the line 24 times versus the Celtics, who were maybe on 20, 21. They were taking care of the ball and going to the line. And you can see the difference in the bottom score, that final score. I don't know right now what Boston can do except for getting some new players who are unbubbled to come and play, because right now it's bad. It's really bad because you're seeing a team that's kicking you up into another gear, and you're seeing a team now who's stuck in neutral. So I don't know where they go from here, but what are your thoughts on what's going to happen in Game 5?
Oh, an implosion. If they start going down, if they go down to this team, now they're going to try to stop Tyler Hero. We understand that. They're going to get physical with him. They're going to bump him around. They're going to do. But the one thing about Tyler Hero, he's slick, baby. He's slick and smooth as cool water on a hot summer day, and he going to get his shots off. The issue is they start bumping him around. Now you're going to leave Jimmy Butler still hasn't exploded yet. We haven't got Squire Butler yet. out there with his sickle taking people's heads off. And the
Right.
game, the Game of Zones is the greatest sports parody ever created in life. But we know at some point in time he is going to come out and he's going to get busy. And all of a sudden, now what are you going to do when you have a Jimmy Butler cooking? You got a Bam working on the inside, unless that arm is hurt more than but it doesn't matter. He's going to tape it up and go. What are you going to stop Goran Dragic? 2 of those 3 guys are going to get off on you. And, and Tyler Hero just believes right now. He's a guy who just believes. And at 20 years old, who didn't believe at 20 years old? I believe I can fly. He believes he can let it fly. He was out there on the court talking about he's a bucket. This dude said he's a bucket. He was walking down the court talking about, I'm a bucket. You know what I'm saying? Well, what you doing? I'm a bucket, man. Just give me the ball. You know what I'm saying? It's absolutely amazing.
And it's nothing you can say about it. You've got Crowder playing poorly. You've got Duncan Robinson playing poorly.
Yeah.
And they have no other. I mean, there's nobody else that you can really. Kendrick Nunn has been non-existent since.
Yeah, they've got Nunn from Nunn. There's no doubt about that.
Good one, my friend. I like that. That was baby, that was a good one.
Yeah,
ain't got none from none. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. I think that's where we'll end it. When you ain't got none from none. So, you know what? We're going to shift from a lighthearted subject to something a little bit heavier. And we're going to talk about social justice. And we always here on the Sizzle, we talk about social justice and what it looks like and what's going on. There has been an uproar, not only in the NBA, but in the world altogether. Jay, the Breonna Taylor situation now has become center stage again, in the forefront of players' minds and what's happening on the court as players are speaking about social injustice. But right now, where we stand, where is the social injustice? What effect is it having on sports as a whole right now?
Well, I think what we're seeing right now is that sports now is just a microcosm of real life, where sports used to just be something that we did to pass the time. Now it's setting the time for us. Now our sports heroes are not only our heroes in between the lines, but there are heroes in our minds out in the streets. And so what we see now, we see a LeBron James, we see a number of guys, the Kyrie Irvings of the world, the Kevin Durant, all these different guys coming out, the Michael Jordans of the world going out there starting one of the first real black NASCAR teams that have money up underneath it, and bringing in the controversial Bubba Wallace, who was driving around NASCAR, one of the most places that they really don't like black people at. We could just say that. They fly the Confederate flag there, and he had the Black Lives Matter car going around. So what I'm saying to you is that right now, this movement is all embossed upon all these people who are now trying to make a statement. Now is when we're going to start seeing change, because we all know dollars is the only thing that makes sense. And if you're going to cause advertisers, stadiums, teams, and they're going to start losing money, they're going to start trying to make sense of what you're protesting. That's what we see it today. We just saw with Breonna Taylor. I know it's sad. They're out some rioting in some different areas. We saw a couple of police officers get shot. There's no any type of looting or anything like that. None of that is justifiable. But I think anybody out there who are not rioting, rioting's the wrong word, I'm sorry, who are out protesting, you have the right to do that, and you should do that. But I think our country was based upon protesting. I mean, we looked at it's solidified in the Boston Tea Party in our history books. You know, we were fighting against tyranny way back in the day when the United States first started. And so it's the same thing now. It's just another form of tyranny here. We're not that far from being slaves. And at some point in time, the slave's going to pull it hard enough and break a chain. And that's what we see going out in the streets tonight all around America.
Well, you know, the issue of social justice has been so deeply ingrained in what's happened the last 6 to 8 months in our country. It's even so now that the controversy has gone over to companies like Cisco that just pledged $100 million to increasing black workers and leadership.
Yeah.
But Jay, there's also another story, the flip side of that story, where you have a company committed to working towards social justice. There are also companies like a Utah Steel company
Yeah.
that says they are not renewing their suites because of racial inequity protests. They don't like it. They're not going to do it. So SME Steel says, we're not going to do it. We're not going to renew. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, SME Steel, you might want to renew because you think the Black Lives Matter there's something wrong with the matter. You don't want to be any part of it. Well, here's the thing about it. Black people or people who belong to that don't have to be any part and use any of your product. It goes both ways. If you don't want to stand with us, why should we stand with you? That's the whole thing. That's the bottom line to it. So you're free in the United States pretty much to say what you want to say and believe in what you want to believe in. I don't have a problem with your stance, but I do have a problem with if you think your stance is going to go unheralded in the community and people aren't going to find out where your steel is being bought and then we'll stop using your steel. That's what will start happening because the Black Lives Matter movement was never about the American flag. It was never about the troops. It was never about anything like that. All it was ever about was that black people want a fair equity shape. We don't want to be treated equal. We want a fair equity stake in the United States. And as we see right now, if you look at the incarceration rates all around the country in our prisons, well over 50% are African Americans, and we're only 14% of the United States population. We look at all the laws that have been generated, especially the war against drugs, that every president since 1972 in some way, shape, or form have utilized in their campaigns and utilized to bring the right to the center. And we see this just been a war on urban black communities because that's where the difference between crack and powder cocaine, what is the difference? But we saw what President Trump right now just signed an act to retroactively go back past 2010 to lighten up all those sentences that were the difference between crack cocaine and powder cocaine, because crack cocaine was used in the black neighborhoods. So the whole thing about it is we only want to be treated fairly, and the only way we can be treated fairly is by those around you deciding to treat us fair. And so if companies like SME Steel Corporation out of Utah says they don't want to be part of the Black Lives Matter, they don't like it, they think it's against America, well, fine. You don't want to participate in our situation and making America better, then we don't have to participate in making your downline better, your bank statement look better. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, and when you look at a company who said they've been around since 1992 and they've had 28 years of investment and they've invested around $6 million.
Yeah, in 28 years.
I mean, $6 million in 28 years,
yeah.
And now you're saying, oh well, we're gonna pull our little whatever that equates out to. We're gonna pull it because we don't believe in racial justice. Well, then, as you said, Jay Sizzle, then we, as a group, will say, well, we'll pull out of the products and goods that you make. How about that?
How about that?
We won't then purchase then what you make, or if it's something that you're providing steel for, we just won't use it. How about that? Yeah. So we can make it all go away. We can, if you don't want to do it. This is about equity, and this is about, we just talked about it, and you just mentioned it with how this administration has been running, and they've been using a Southern strategy. In fact, we used to talk a lot about it on the air when we were talking about it, the barbershop.
Yeah.
We talk about social inequity and what the Southern strategy was in politics and how it was used, especially looking at the Nixon election and now how it's rolled into the Trump election. All of these little tactics and things have gone on, but you have had players who are standing up and they're saying the same thing that you're saying, Jay. They're saying, you know what? No more. No longer are we going to just idly sit by and take this injustice and just keep moving. So hopefully this is making an impact, and people who are listening to this will learn that you have a voice, and your voice in social injustice at this point is your dollar. So Jay, I know we're still we're in a somber mood.
Yeah.
And we go from a hero on the court to a hero on the gridiron. We lost one of our great heroes and a Chicago icon.
Yeah.
One of maybe the greatest Chicago Bears of all time, and that is in Gale Sayers passing today. So we want to just take this time at the back end of the show to talk about Gale Sayers and what his accomplishments were and what he really added to the game of football, what he gave, especially to the Chicago Bears. And, we talked about it earlier. I don't know if I can say he's the greatest Bear. I was always a Walter Payton fan. And as far as it goes, I'll probably always be a Walter Payton fan. But what Gale Sayers was able to do hadn't been done at that time. So, Jay, can you just let the listeners know some of the things and what made Gale Sayers special?
Well, first thing was Gale Sayers was the Kansas Comet. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the fastest players to play in the NFL at the time. And he literally could run sideways as fast as he could run forward. He's probably the most elusive player, and I want to say besides maybe Barry Sanders, modern day, that we can say he's one of the best backs in there. And I'm going to also tell you this, and now piggybacking on social injustice or social justice, when he and Brian Piccolo start rooming together, that was a no-no back in the 1960s. That just didn't happen. And so for a black man and a white man to room together on a team like this, they caught a lot of flack by that. And so Gale Sayers, who is by far, I think, probably the best running back we've ever seen in the NFL. He's not the biggest back. He's not the greatest back out of the backfield catching the football. But pure running back in the open field runner, I think you don't see one better than he is. And he was a guy who set all types of records, so he's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, if you don't know who Gale Sayers is, and for our younger listeners, Gale Sayers didn't have a long career. He only played 7 years in the league due to severe knee injuries, but he was someone who set a precedent. He was the youngest player ever inducted into the Hall of Fame at the age of 34 in 1977.
Yeah.
So that just lets you know the impact he had. And there was the Buckus, there was Dicka, there were other players there, Bobby Doug. There were people who knew his impact and what it meant to. In fact, I remember, I want to say it was Detroit or the Packers. They had a Gale Sayers defense. It was a way to defend him, to try and stop him on special teams. And you're talking about a player who played all phases.
Yeah.
He played special teams. He was on the hands team. He would catch passes out. He would swing out of the backfield. He was an uphill runner. He was the prototype, the Eric Dickersons, all of these guys that you looked at later that came after him. It was Gale Sayers who set the precedent. And he was also someone who always preached, always preached effort, giving effort, doing your best. That he took pride in the fact every run he gave his effort. He was 100% every run. And he would tell you, look, not only am I the Kansas Comet, nobody could catch me. Nobody was as good as me. And he would say it about Jim Brown.
Right.
He would say it about Earl Campbell. He said it about anybody. There was no back in the league that was as good as me when I played at that time.
You know, the thing he used to always say is, give me 18 inches of daylight and I'm gone. And in his first year, he scored 22 touchdowns in his rookie season and had a 6-touchdown day. You guys got to remember now, this is way back in the day. There wasn't no penalties for hitting people, spearing people, kicking people. There was none of that. Football was way different in the 1960s than what it is now. So for guys to excel like that, they had to be really tough guys to play this game, because the game back in the 60s and 70s was a lot. Guys are bigger and stronger, but it was much more brutal back in the time of Gale Sayers.
Oh, yeah. You're talking about a 5-time All-Star, someone who averaged 5 yards per carry. And you have to think this was someone in I want to say it was 69, that was the year after he got injured.
Yeah.
In the year after that, he still led the league after having an ACL and MCL tear.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a man who was a complete and all-around back.
Yeah.
He was as complete a back as there'll ever be in the history of football. So, we tip our hats to you and we say in condolences to you and your family, that we wish you peaceful journeys, and thank you for all that you've been able to give to NFL football and to the world as a whole.
Yeah.
And plus, man, we've got to talk about Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yes.
We have to say, look, it as impactful as losing John Lewis was, it's also impactful to lose Justice Ginsburg, just because you're looking at history. You're looking at someone who made some influential changes, and someone who is lying in state right now, who has never, in the history of the Supreme Court, there has never been a justice who has had they haven't rested in state. Not there.
A woman,
and especially not a woman,
Yeah.
and especially not a Jewish American woman.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. She's been a trailblazer. And so we've lost a lot in the past few months, but the loss of John Lewis, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and now Gail Sayers, it's been a lot.
You know, and I want to say, too, about I've had a conversation with a number of my Republican friends, and we went back and forth about Justice Ginsburg, and they have certain feelings about her, have certain feelings about this. But beyond all that, I want to look at her saying that she was just a pioneer in women's rights. And I don't care which side of the aisle you sit on, you're able to sit a little higher because of the work she did, of how she argued in front of the Supreme Court for women's rights. And I believe just for that alone, she should be celebrated by all people, because if it wasn't for her, a lot of women would not have the opportunity that they have today. You saw today you had 120 of her clerks lined up outside waiting for her hearse to pull up, and they all stood in attention for her when she came by. One of the greatest salutes I've ever seen for a person who wasn't in the military. So I just think she was a great champion. Whether you liked her or you didn't like her because of our politics, you have to say one thing, that Ruth Bader Ginsburg gave all that she had for the United States, and we think the United States is a better country because she served on the court.
Excellently said. I don't think it could be said any better, and I don't think there's any truer eulogy that we could give from the Sizzle to say thank you for your service. Thank you to all that we have lost, and thank you to those who have served. Thank you to those who are still serving. The first responders, those who can't be at home, those that are essential workers, we thank you and we appreciate you.
Yeah.
But before we get ready to get out of here, man, we got to talk about, it's that time. We got to leave the people with something hot, Jay. We got to leave them with something inspirational, something fire to give to the people before we walk out the door.
I saw the most pimping thing I've ever seen in my entire life the other day. Yeah, pimping. I was on my way. I had to drive down to another town, like I said the other day, to go see my friend who's terminally ill. And I saw a man in a motorized wheelchair.
Okay.
Going across the intersection diagonally, a major intersection. And as he was going across the intersection, he crossed his legs like I do this every day. And I said, pimping? What is your name?
Pimping.
He was a pimp named Slickback. Because most amazing thing, look, I almost had to pull over. I was laughing so hard. And then he rode down the middle of the street on the other lane. Cars had to go around him because Pimpin was in his vehicle. And but man, when he crossed his legs going through that intersection, one of the greatest things I've ever seen.
Well, that lets you know then the moral for the day is when you get in your lane, other people have to make way for you.
Oh, get that.
I love it. I love it. Hey, man, we're about to get out of here, but we just had to leave the people with something hot. That's inspirational. You know what? Now I think I'm going to go and ride out in the middle of the lane. Yeah, I got my chair. I don't have a motorized chair, but if you kick it and I push it forward, it'll work.
Now, Pimpin, now, you know, us big fellas, we don't cross our legs too often like that, knee over knee. That might cause some friction. We might start a fire out there. It'd be like, good thing we ain't wearing corduroys. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh, that's just like friction, flame. Did you remember that sound? It was always.
Hey, nobody wears corduroys anymore, man.
Oh, corduroy used to be the one though. You wear it in the winter. Oh, baby.
Yeah.
That corduroy was your friend in the winter, Jack.
Yeah.
Not so much in the summer. It's a long story. And my mother, I had corduroy shorts, and let's just say it didn't go well.
Well, it happens to the best of us.
Yes, well, it happened to me, and now I'm telling you, remember this. If you're not listening to us, if you're not following us, shame on you. You should be doing so.
Yeah, you should be.
And you can always find us. We're at Iron Skillet Sports. And that, if you can't find us at Iron Skillet Sports, what you can always do is go #Skillet_sports. We are Iron Skillet Sports. We are the talk of the 219 because this is the Sizzle, and this is the hottest talk in the 219. So for J Sizzle, I'm G Sizzle. Listen, we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah,
Did
and
you
hit
know
the
that you can
subscribe
listen
button.
to Iron Skillet Radio?
I'm sorry. Hit the subscribe button, the like button. Hit that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now player.
Did you know that you can listen to Iron Skillet Radio on Spotify,